stand by for action.
Thank you, my name is Dave Miller. I am the Unpleasant Blind Guy. Now, guys, this is not going to be an easy program for me to do, because this could be the last program that you hear from me available through SHR Media. SHR Media has been very good to me, taking on the Unpleasant Blind Guy through its merger with High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. But when an issue is brought up, even when that issue is brought up by one of the network owners, I have to address it. Not because I necessarily want to target that person, but because I feel like principles, information, and education can be gotten from it by people who listen to my show. The higher-ups at SHR Media might not feel the same way, but I will tell you, the people who listen to my program, the people who have stuck with me all these years, that even if it does so happen that SHR Media gives me the boot, I will find some way to bring you the Unpleasant Blind Guy in some form, because I feel that it's what I've been called to do. Now, not long before the midterm elections, I was listening to an episode of Sackheads Radio, this particular one hosted by Sackheads Clint and Sackheads BZ. Now, you can hear this show at 11 p.m. Eastern, Wednesdays on the SHR Media Network. And it's a good program. But in the conversation in that particular show, Sackheads Clint, who is one of the owners of the SHR Media Network, ventured the opinion that if the House of Representatives were to be lost to the Democrats, that it wouldn't be that big a deal. He indicated that he had spoken to his kids about this, and he was trying to put forward principles about doing your job and doing it right, or losing your job. Problem was that I knew at the time that Sackheads Clint was not only wrong, he was dangerously wrong. And, as we all know, it came to pass that, in fact, the Democrats did take the House of Representatives in the 2018 midterm election. And in a Sackheads radio show subsequent to that election, I told Clint in chat that he should not piss and moan about anything that the new Congress did, because it was he who did not encourage people to vote for the Republicans in the midterm election. Now, Clint said to me, by name, that he would piss and moan about whatever he wanted because that was his show. And, being the free speech advocate that I am, I had to agree. It is, at least partly, Sackheads Clint's show. And you guys that have listened to my show long enough know that I believe that free speech should be infinite. But when it comes to things like this, you have to have the weight of integrity behind what you say, or risk not being taken as seriously, or even being called a hypocrite. And pointing out hypocrisy is one of the things that I do on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And I don't really care who the guilty party is. It's usually someone on the left, but it can be someone on the right as well. It can be someone who pretends to be on the right, like one of the rhinos in the Congress about to be previous. Or it can be one of my network owners. Or it can even be myself. If I catch myself in a bit of hypocrisy, I'll call myself out and apologize. Because that's what we have to do, guys. We can't just talk it. We have to live it. As much as physically and logistically possible. And that's not always easy, but it's not impossible either. Now, why is it that I contend that Sackheads Clint and others who express the same opinion, because this isn't just about bashing Sackheads Clint, are dangerously wrong about Democrats taking the U.S. House of Representatives in the midterms. Well, I'm going to give you some insight, and I've got a few articles, all of which will be available at UBG Contact on Twitter. You can also get hold of me as Dave Milner on Facebook, the Tea Party Community and MeWe, and a Magador on Trumptown and Gab. First, the results. The following is from an article by Daniel Morans of the Huffington Post, dated November the 27th, 2018. Headline: The Progressive Caucus has a chance to be more influential than ever. The Congressional Progressive Caucus, which has historically lacked the clout of other values-based congressional factions, is making a serious play for influence in the next Congress. In the recent midterm elections, the caucus Political Action Committee spent more than 3 times what it spent in the previous election cycle. The money paid off. The CPC is on track to pick up 19 more members, 25 people from the incoming freshman class, and 2 incumbents, California Representatives Jimmy Panetta and Brad Sherman. 8 of its current members are retiring. That would bring the caucus total to 96 members, or about 40% of the House Democratic Caucus. By far the largest bloc in the party. And here comes the kicker, sports fans. What's more, the centrist-heavy rebellion against Nancy Pelosi's speakership has strengthened the CPC's bargaining hand. Representatives Pramila Jayapal of Washington and Mark Pocan of Wisconsin, the caucus's co-chairs, leveraged their endorsement of Pelosi for the promise of proportional representation on 5 key House committees where their presence is currently lacking. Ways and Means, that's money, folks, and possibly the most influential committee in the entire Congress. Energy and Commerce, Financial Services, Appropriations, and Intelligence. So say bye-bye to national security, everyone. That's what I'm going to read out of that article. But that alone should scare the pants off you, because the quote-unquote Progressive Caucus are people who are just this side of communist. In fact, you might as well call them communist. These are the people who openly say that they don't want their children to grow up in a country like the United States of America. These are the people who insist on free everything for everyone. No real way to pay for it except socialism, but they're convinced that socialism is the way to go. And by the way, guys, these are going to be the people who are going to push the hardest for a Chinese-style social credit system in the United States of America. And if you haven't heard about that one yet, if no place else, you'll hear about it in a future show of mine. These are the people who are going to be the most gung-ho about opening investigation after investigation after investigation after investigation on President Trump and the Trump administration. These are going to be the people who are going to be the most gung-ho about opening investigations on all of the Trump-appointed Supreme Court justices. And this is a big one, guys. Everyone with any sense has celebrated the appointment of these justices. But folks, let me tell you, if there's a way that this Congress can do it, they will impeach and throw out of office Justice Kavanaugh and Justice Gorsuch. It's too important to them to forward the progressive agenda for there to be that many supposedly conservative Supreme Court justices sitting on the bench. these will also be the people, guys, in control of the money who are going to want to shunt that to BS programs like carbon capture and more welfare and more free everything for illegal aliens and away from things like propping up our national defense. The newly elected Democratic progressives are also going to make sure that the United States of America becomes a more Sharia-compliant nation. Well, Dave, now you're just bashing Muslims again. Oh, really? This is from an article dated October the 5th, 2018, by Greg Roman of the Middle East Forum. And the headline here is, Keith Ellison and Michigan candidates top the 2017-18 Islamist money list. See, folks, George Soros and various other secular leftist millionaires and billionaires aren't the only ones that poured dark money into this midterm election. To get into the article, Philadelphia, the Middle East Forum's Islamist Money in Politics, IMIP project, has calculated the top 10 recipients of 2017-18 campaign contributions from prominent Islamists. These are funds from individuals who agree, get ready for this, guys, because many of these now represent you in Congress, with the goals of Khomeini, Bin Laden, and ISIS. Welcome to the new Congress. Michigan politicians dominate the list. Failed Democratic gubernatorial candidate Abdul El Said raised an impressive $80,400, the most ever in a single election cycle since IMIP began tracking these donations in 2014. This includes $58,760 from senior officials, get ready for it, guys, of the Council on American Islamic Relations, or CARE, designated a terrorist organization by the United Arab Emirates. Representative Keith Ellison, Democratic congressman from Minnesota, is number 2 on the list, and the top national candidate. Long an Islamist money favorite with a lifetime total of $227,473 in contributions, Ellison has raked in $28,030 from Islamists so far this cycle as he seeks to become Minnesota's Attorney General, although he is currently facing domestic abuse allegations. And as we know, guys, Ellison did get elected despite those allegations. So, Minnesota's Attorney General is the equivalent of a wife-beater. Typical for a Mohammedan, but you wouldn't think that one would get elected in the United States of America. Ellison is also deputy chair of the Democratic National Committee, telling you everything you need to know, people, about the Democratic National Committee. Michigan Democrat Rashida Tlaib, number 3 on our list, won the 13th Congressional District primary, leveraging $27,944 in Islamist money from across the U.S. to outspend her opponents by almost 2-1. And another note, guys, she won with all that too. But you'll hear a little bit more about her later. All three have close ties to Islamist groups. Significantly, the Islamist lobbies, affections, and intentions as they seek to influence U.S. policy. And trust me, guys, as members of the now majority party in Congress, that influence is going to be a lot more. To move on. Other politicians listed include Debbie Stabenow, Senator from Michigan, Jennifer Wexton, running for Congress in Virginia. Amar Kempa Nikhar, running for Congress in California. Dan Kildee, Congressman from Michigan. Pamela Jayapal, Representative from Washington State. Tahir Javed, running for Congress in Texas. Ilham Omar, running for Congress in Minnesota. And Tom Malinowski, running for Congress in New Jersey. Standings within the top 10 list will likely change as the Federal Election Commission releases more donation data. It is encouraging that American Muslims are running for office, said Oren Litwin, research fellow for the IMIP program. But Islamist groups are exploiting this for their own purposes and funding their allies to advance an agenda incompatible with the Constitution. Islamist Money in Politics, IMIP, shines a light on Islamist influence in U.S. politics. To date, it has uncovered 6,078 contributions from a tight group of prominent Islamist activists, totaling more than $2.8 million. While the amounts are small, they provide valuable information on Islamist political goals and strategy, allowing friends of the Constitution to counter their efforts. The Nonpartisan Project continually updates contribution data to hold politicians accountable and educate the public. The Middle East Forum identifies and promotes American interests in the Middle East and works to protect Western civilization from the threat of Islamism. So you see the influence of the money people. These Islamists that they're talking about want Sharia compliance in the United States of America. Now what does that mean? What that means is blasphemy laws, for one thing, being put in place. If you want to see what that looks like, just look at the United Kingdom. What that means is making sure that female genital mutilation becomes universally legal in the United States of America. What that means is redirection away from the threat of Islamic terrorism and more towards, in the intelligence realm, the fake threat of white supremacist terrorism. And no, I'm not saying there aren't any white supremacists out there that mean people harm, but it's far from a there's a white supremacist under every bed nonsense that the left are spewing out now. Islamic terrorism and the influence of Islam, which will destroy civil liberties in the United States of America if it is not checked, is far more a danger than any unwashed, brain-dead, white supremacist idiot. So of that top 10 list, who got elected? The Islamist money worked very well. Keith Ellison, as we know, won his Attorney General spot. Ilham Omar won in Minnesota's 5th Congressional District and is now being fawned over, as is Rashida Tlaib, who won in Michigan's 13th Congressional District. Debbie Stabenow was reelected the U.S. Senator from Michigan. Jennifer Wexton won Virginia's 10th Congressional District. Dan Kildee was reelected to Michigan's 5th Congressional District. Pramila Jayapal was reelected to Washington State's 7th Congressional District, and Tom Malinowski was elected to New Jersey's 7th Congressional District. And by the way, if you're counting people, that's 8 out of the top 10 recipients of Islamist money that got elected and now have influence in the United States of America. Almost all of them in Congress, and all of them Democrats. Now, why does this matter, aside from what I've already told you? What type of people are these new Mohammedan Congress people? Well, I've read it before, but in this context, it's good to read part of it again. This is a story that was found by Sackheads BZ, who hosts BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, which you can hear on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 11 p.m. Eastern on SHR Media. It's by David Harsanyi of the New York Post, and it's dated November the 11th, 2018. The headline here: here's the anti-Semitism the media doesn't want to mention. The 2018 midterm will bring many new faces to Washington, but few will find as much adoration as Ilham Omar, one of the first 2 Muslim women elected to Congress. Omar, who will represent Minnesota's 5th Congressional District, is a Somali refugee with a celebrity aura and uplifting story. What went curiously unmentioned in all the flattering post-election coverage, however, was that Omar, who replaces Keith Ellison, a former acolyte of anti-Semitic Minister Louis Farrakhan, also has some exotic notions about the Jewish people. In a 2012 tweet, for instance, the Democrat explained that, quote, Israel has hypnotized the world. May Allah awaken the people and help them see the evil doings of Israel. Hashtag Gaza, hashtag Palestine, hashtag Israel, end quote. Meanwhile, the other Muslim woman headed to Congress is Michigan Democrat Rashida Tlaib, the daughter of Palestinian immigrants. And once again, I'll correct that. Since the nation of Palestine is phony, she would then be the daughter of Gazan Arab squatter immigrants, probably of Jordanian descent. But I'll continue with the article. Who wants to cut aid to the Jewish state because supporting it, quote, doesn't fit the values of our country, end quote. And as I said in my last show, I'm assuming that the quote-unquote country she means is the Gaza Strip, where her parents' fellow Jordanian squatters came from. And continue. Writer David Steinberg identified 105 news stories written in the immediate aftermath of Omar's victory, and not a single one mentioned that she believed, and I can't believe that they used this word in this article, but here we go, Jewry possessed mind control abilities, or that Israel was, quote, evil, end quote. No one called on the Democratic Party to distance itself from this rhetoric. Now that's the caliber of the new majority party in the United States House of Representatives. And I can tell you guys that this isn't the end of it. That's indicated by this article by Philip Marcello and Jeff Karaub of the Associated Press, which was dated July the 16th, 2018. Now the headline on this one, and don't be fooled guys, because this isn't the nugget you need to dig from it, is Muslim candidates running in record numbers face backlash. I won't read this entire article, but of course I'll include it with my other source articles for you to get off of social media. But I will read one sentence, and this is the nugget you need to take from it. There were as many as 90 Muslim Americans, we'll just say Muslims, running for national or statewide offices this election cycle, a number that Muslim groups say was unprecedented, at least in the post-9/11 era. There's what you need to take from that. Guys, this new influx of Islamist influence from people of varying races and from varying parts of the country, but who are friendly to the Islamist mindset, is only the beginning. Folks, we have to fight this stuff as hard as we possibly can. I knew that this was coming up, and that it would happen if Democrats gained control of the House of Representatives, because I look at what goes on in other countries. That is why I felt that it was a massive mistake to dismiss the Congressional Mid-Term Elections as being no big deal. If you want to get a preview of what the Muslims are trying to do with our Congress, all you have to do is look over at the United Kingdom. Their House of Commons is practically stuffed with Mohammedans. And the civil liberties of the non-Muslims of the United Kingdom are practically gone. Don't think that this can't happen here in the United States of America, folks. Now, I know many of you, and I think that Sackheads Clint alluded to this himself, believe that President Trump is going to stand fast against these crazy Democrats. He's not going to let any of this stuff through, boy. Reality check, everybody. President Trump has already folded on a couple of issues. We need to understand that this is a guy who is narcissistic enough to want to look like a winner. Now, I understand narcissism because I'm narcissistic myself. But I'm not influencing the future of the people of the United States of America through legislation and the influence of the office of President of the United States. Now, I say he's folded a couple of times. Okay, what on? First issue, and I went after him for this on my program, was the iftar dinner problem. The first year that President Trump was in office, he did not host an iftar dinner, and that, I felt, and many others felt, was a positive step forward. It showed, at least publicly, that Islam was going to have less of an influence on the White House. What happened after all the complaints? President Trump held an iftar dinner the next year. Oh, and by the way, what did he get for that? Did he get any more support from the Muslim community? No. Basically what they said was that wasn't good enough, that he needed to bow down to Islam. So that step back got him nothing. Second issue, and this is one that I'll add in. He let in the first quote-unquote caravan of illegal aliens. That was due to influence from his wife. It made him look better. It made him look more compassionate. Again, not that that gained him anything. He ran on border security. But some of that integrity went away when he let that first group of invaders in. As a matter of fact, that makes me believe that some people did not vote in the 2018 midterms because President Trump did not follow through, they felt, on that promise. It was only one issue, but they felt that it was an important one. And because President Trump wanted to look good, he went ahead and let the invaders in. And, as I record this in late November, look at the mess we now have on our southern borders. And the third issue was Planned Parenthood. This assembly line of death is still being funded. President Trump got a lot of support in 2016 from evangelicals because they believed he wanted to defund Planned Parenthood. They voted for him on that basis. And because President Trump wanted to look like a winner, he folded on that issue. Now, all of the Trump worshippers came out after that whole funding battle was over and said, oh yes, but Trump got extra money for the military. As far as the evangelicals were concerned, yes, that was important. but it wasn't nearly as important as the fact that now thousands of babies are dead, and thousands more will die, and the taxpayers of the United States of America will foot the bill. I've heard some Trump worshippers, and I know that the always Trumpers hate that phrase, but as Sackheads Clint said during the 2016 primaries, tough shit, believe that a lot of this is brilliant Trump strategy. I'm sorry, guys, but any strategy that leaves thousands of babies dead and enables the murder of thousands more stinks. Now, I want to make something clear, because I know now that people are going to complain about me and say, well, you're a never-Trumper. You're just a rhino. I'm about policy. I've always been about policy. I don't give a rat's furry behind about persona, personality, presidentiality, tweeting, any of that ancillary garbage. Show me the policy. That's how I felt during the 2016 primaries, and that's how I still feel. I started off in the primaries being for Bobby Jindal because I felt that he understood the dangers of Islam, and then I moved over to Ted Cruz because of his tried and proven positions on policy. I didn't care about Trump's performance on the debate stage. I didn't care about how he said stuff and how he was bold and he was out there. None of that mattered to me. What mattered was policy. That's what's always mattered. But for those Trump worshippers who are ready to claim that I never supported President Trump, you need to go back and listen to my programs, because I did endorse him once he won the Republican nomination. I did that because I thought there was about a 10% chance that he would be a good president, as opposed to a 100% chance that Hillary Clinton would be a diabolical president. And I have to say that after almost 2 complete years in office, I'm not sorry that I endorsed President Trump, flaws and all, because he has mostly been a good president. Most of his problems have come from a lackadaisical and left-leaning Republican Congress. Now, some are going to say that I should stop using the phrase Trump worshiper. Why do I even go there? Have you ever talked to an old hippie that was a supporter of Bobby Kennedy in 1968? Guys, it's downright creepy. They call him Bobby, as if he was a friend or a relative of theirs, not a political candidate. That's not studying someone and deciding to support them because you agree with their policy stances. That's little better than cult-like behavior. And what about the Obama bots that we used to complain about during the Obama administration? Obama could do no wrong, because he was Obama. And then I began seeing this behavior from some people towards President Trump in the 2016 midterms. And quite honestly, guys, knowing history the way I do, it was scary. Because you can't put your full faith and trust in a politician. And though everyone said that Trump wasn't a politician, yes, he was. He donated money to both political parties. So he engaged in politics without ever having been in office. I cared about policy, and I still care about policy. And I've said in a previous show that it is our duty as conservatives to help President Trump govern, meaning that we need to get hold of him and let him know, both when we support the things that he does and when we disapprove of the things that he does, because he needs to understand how the real people of the United States of America feel about what he is doing. We have to look upon him not as a demigod, not as magical, but as a politician who can be influenced, and he has been, on more than one occasion, to do some things that conservatives definitely do not approve of. I enumerated those a few minutes ago. And this is why I knew that the election of a Democratic Congress would be a potential disaster for the United States of America. I'll tell you this, guys. Don't be surprised if the economic prosperity that President Trump has brought us doesn't go away. Don't be surprised if in the next 2 years we don't see a further diminishment of our civil rights here in this country. And I hate to say it, guys, but here it is. Don't be surprised if President Trump loses the 2020 election. Now, will I support him? Yes. Because he will be better, even with his imperfections, than anything that the left puts up to oppose him. But consider, if evangelicals don't come out to vote for President Trump because Planned Parenthood is still funded under his watch, if people who see him paralyzed by the Democratic Congress don't come out and vote for him, if people see him as ineffectual and don't come out and vote for him, he will lose. We already know that part of the reason why we have a Democratic majority Congress is because of voter fraud. If you think there's not going to be that in the 2020 election, then you're dreaming. So yes, people, the fact that Democrats took the United States Congress was an extremely big deal. We went from a do-very-little Republican Congress with a Freedom Caucus that had at least a tiny amount of influence to what's going to be a do-a-lot Democratic Congress with an influential Progressive Caucus that is going to do a whole lot, and all of it bad. Millions will be wasted in dollars, and it is quite possible, people, that all of the gains that the Trump administration has achieved, and they are considerable, will be lost. And am I going to be rubbing my hands with glee and going, yay, I was right, and I got one over Sackheads Clint? No. Because I love this country, and I think Sackheads Clint does too. He, like myself, is somewhat abrasive, but I think he loves the country. He and those who share his mindset were just wrong in this instance. And that includes the never-Trumpers, by the way, who have been moaning the whole time about President Trump's behavior and haven't been concentrating on policy. A piece of this loss can also be laid at the door of the never-Trumpers, because no one does political snobbery quite like them. And now, we could all wind up paying for that. So how can we reasonably fight this? The best that we can do, people, is to do everything we can to support President Trump now, and to make it clear to him that if he folds on the vital conservative issues that he must support, that he will not be reelected in 2020 because he's that much of a narcissist. He will fight if he thinks that he will lose all of his base's support if he doesn't fight. That's where we come in. That's the influence that we can have. No, it's not hopeless, but trust the over 50 years of experience that I have in this stuff when I say, guys, that we're in trouble. And it's time to man the barricades. And now it's time for the Awesome American segment. And this time's Awesome American is highlighted in a story from KVAL-TV Channel 13 in Eugene, Oregon, by Alex Hassenstab and the KVAL.com staff. The headline: I made it my mission to make not one person feel the way my friends felt. Eugene, Oregon. One high school student has made suicide prevention his life's mission. Not only has Churchill High student Carson Lydon raised thousands of dollars for suicide prevention, he's also being nationally recognized for it. A world free of suicide, that's my goal, and that's what I want to accomplish, said Lydon. Carson Lydon is a student athlete at Churchill High School. He's also a recipient of the Highlight the Hope Award for raising over $17,000 for suicide prevention. The sophomore, he's only a sophomore, people, raised the funds through an event called Out of the Darkness Walk. It was the most raised by any single team in the nation, but it was tragedy that led to his achievement. I lost 2 friends to suicide in 2017 and 2018, said Lydon. Shortly after, he would begin his own struggle with mental health. I personally went into a spiral effect of depression and suicidal thoughts as well, because after I lost them, I started thinking maybe I was a reason. But after attending the walk in 2017, he decided that next year he was going to make an impact. I made my mission to make not one person feel the way my friends felt, said Lydon. So for 8 months, he spent countless hours making phone calls and sending emails, getting donations anywhere from $5 to $5,000. But his first goal is to simply get people talking about mental health. After graduation, he hopes to play collegiate basketball, but he says that won't stop him from continuing his efforts. Lydon's goal for next year's walk is $20,000 to $25,000. People, if you listen to my show, School, you know that our public school system has been broken for about 45 years. It's not only turned into indoctrination centers for the left, it's become a social snake pit that tragically is turning out kids that either externalize their pain through violence or express it internally through alcohol and drug abuse and suicide. The system needs to be fixed, and that's going to take a lot of hard work. But even the brainwashing and conditioning of our public schools cannot completely ruin all of this generation of young people. Some of them have the character to go beyond and extend a helping hand to their fellows, something that is needed now more than ever. And that is why Carson Lydon of Eugene, Oregon is an awesome American. And that is it for this time. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for listening, and thank those of you who have been with me for years, and may your God go with you. Goodbye. The Unpleasant Blind Guy is copyright 2018. Anno Domini. Now for Dave's Canes. Extras that help you navigate the new media world.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
I'm Dave Milner. I bring 50 years of news analysis experience to you, weekly through SHR Media, High Plains Pundit Talk Radio, and the Western Free Radio Network on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's English Defense League Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant, like the truth that Arizona Senator John McCain is still dead, and yes, as a senator, he did suck.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capitol, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
Hey girls, Carry Girl Gear is here. More and more women every day are concealed carrying, participating in competitive shooting, and getting firearms training. It's not a boys' club anymore, and we don't have to shop in their stores anymore either. Finally, a cool and unique clothing line just for women. Dope tees and hats for the patriotic concealed carry and 2A girl. So what are you waiting for? Go check out carrygirlgear.com today.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media